All right, thank you for letting me take just a second and get prepped here. For those of you that are just joining, welcome, and thank you for coming tonight. This is the Journey to Breathing Easy with doTERRA event. I am Staci Cahill. I get to be your host tonight, and I am so excited to share with you just my journey. I know many of you have heard parts of this before, and some of you it's brand new, but I am excited that you guys have taken the time to join us tonight. I'm going to go over just a few housekeeping things really quick, and then I'll jump right into our content tonight. First of all, welcome everybody, and you are currently muted as you enter the call, so don't worry about noisy kids or background noise. It's not going to disturb anybody. However, if you have any questions or you want to add something, by all means, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can chat into the chat box if you have questions. I'd be happy to answer those. If you are busy doing stuff around the house or you would like to just hide your video, you have the option on Zoom to hide that so we're not seeing what you're doing. But if you want to show me your beautiful faces and give me something to look at while I'm talking, I'd love to see that too. So for those of you who are hopping in, I did ask if you had a second or were in a place that you could do that, to chat in and let me know if you are already part of Team Possible with Monica's team or the Essential Wholeness team. And if you are brand new to essential oils or just hearing about doTERRA for the first time or invited to check this out tonight, let me know. I want to make sure that I answer all the questions and give all the information that I possibly can for all of you. So just a few basics for you all. Like I said, my name is Staci Cahill. I have been with doTERRA for 6.5 years now. I am so excited. I started this whole journey with doTERRA because of the story that we're sharing tonight, because of my daughter, because of her struggles with respiratory issues, and that has been such a crucial part of her journey. And I wanted to be able to share that with you guys because I think those of you that have been with doTERRA for a while understand that somewhere in the last year or two, we forgot to tell our stories. We're not sharing what it is that these oils are doing in our families, and that's so, so important. And I just felt so inspired over the last month to really start talking again, start sharing what it is that's happening. So if you guys have a great testimonial for your oil story or have seen great results, I would love if you just shoot a message to me or to Monica, and we can share those with people because there's so many out there. We want to hear them. So really, I'm going to share some pictures tonight because I think it's a little bit easier than just staring at my face all night. So we'll look at a few pictures, but really the biggest thing I want you guys to know is that I'm a single mom. I have been since my daughter was about 3 months old. She is now 11. I am a homeschooling mama, and I absolutely love that. I'm trying to get this to show what I want it to, but it's not going to work that way. There we go. So that's a little bit about me. I spend my time sharing doTERRA. It is my full-time job now, and that has been just a blessing. It's something that I never expected as a single mom that I'd be able to do all the things that I'm able to do now. So that will actually be coming. We're doing a whole class about that story later on in the summer. But tonight, the story is really about this beautiful girl right here. This is my daughter, Katrina. This picture is probably about a year old. She is now 11, and she is just a feisty, kind-hearted, adventurous, fiercely independent little artist. And I don't know what I would do in my life without her. But it is really because of her that my entire doTERRA career has happened. It's because of her and her story and what we went through long before we even knew about the oils that really got the whole trajectory of my life to change and to completely transform. So this is her kind of now, but this was her kind of when the story began. Our journey started when she was about 9 months old. She had her first respiratory attack. Let's be honest, it was an asthma attack. We went to the ER, and that started a whole spiral of events that I was not prepared for. At 9 months old, she had her first asthma attack. We were then sent to our pediatrician for follow-up and got the inhalers and got steroids and got the whole kit and caboodle of medications that you can use to really help start her breathing up again. Now, before I even get too far into the story, I just have to address right away that I know a lot of us that use natural solutions, that have come to doTERRA, that use the essential oils, we kind of get this idea that it's oils or nothing. And I have been on such a journey with her, and I would always choose my oils and my natural solutions first. But if you're expecting someone to come and say that there's no good that can come from medicine or any of that, I'm not your girl, because quite honestly, without those medicines, without the medical intervention that my daughter had at a young age, she would not be here today. So I am so grateful that we live in a place that we have the technology, the science, the resources, and sometimes the medication for those crucial traumatic times. However, I'm also so grateful that I have the ability and I have the tools to be able to do what I need for my family before it gets to that point. So this was her at about 14 months. And in between that time, when she was 11 months old, she was hospitalized again. This time she was put on life support. She had pneumonia, she had an asthma attack, and the doctors weren't sure if she was going to survive the week. After spending, I think it was 4 or 5 days, quite honestly, it's a blur at this point, 4 or 5 days on life support. And during that time, it was a touch and go battle just to make sure that she was able to recuperate and let her lungs rest. As many of you know, from a mama standpoint, you can't think of anything worse. And to be able to go through that and just to trust that we were on the right course, we were doing everything we could. Because of that hospitalization at 11 months old, she missed her first birthday party. And it was not until about 4 to 6 months after she turned 1 that we were even able to celebrate that birthday party, because Katrina had a very, very overreactive respiratory system. From the time she was 9 months old until the time that she turned 3, which is about 24 months, she was hospitalized over 18 times. Most of those times she ended up in the ICU. And a couple of those times, well, no, not a couple, quite a few of those times, she got to ride in the ambulance. Still to this day, it kind of creeps me out that my child can hear sirens miles away, and she can distinguish with 100% accuracy if it's an ambulance, a fire truck, or a police car. And I'm sure that's because she was in them so often and heard those sounds at such a young age. During this time with her in and out of the hospital, you know, I was a single mom. I was doing the best I could to follow the doctor's advice, to take care of her, to give her the support that I could. A lot of the medications that she was on kept her awake for days at a time. She would literally not sleep for 2, 3, 4 days. And the heartache of it was just overwhelming. I was exhausted. I was watching my child kind of forego life. So much of that was, you know, she wasn't able to do the things that most kids could do. She couldn't go out and play outside in the snow. She couldn't go to a lot of social events when there's other kids around. We used to go grocery shopping, you know, at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, because she was awake anyway, and the stores weren't as busy, so I could bring her with me without exposing her to a lot of other things. We also had a lot of fun when we were at the hospital. We like to call this Project Runway, Hospital Couture. And we would take her little monkey, we would take her, and, you know, often all we had was paper towels. And with some paper towels and a roll of tape, we could easily create lots of different costumes and designs. This was our norm. We were going to Seattle Children's Hospital and going through the ER, the doctors and the nurses would know us by name before we were even checked in because they saw us so often. What a great place to have that support. But at the same time, I hope none of you ever have to be on a first name basis with the doctors at any hospital. But that was our reality. That was our life. Katrina wasn't ever really doing well child checkups at her pediatrician. I had the privilege, I guess, of being able to call our pediatrician anytime, day or night, and tell them what was going on. And without a second of hesitation, I never had to wait for a doctor's appointment. I could show up at any given point, and within minutes, I was put in a room. It's that kind of special treatment that you get when you have a severely reactive respiratory system. One of the times that I recall so vividly was when Katrina was 2.5 years old, and we actually did schedule a well child checkup. She had been in between medications long enough that her system was strong enough. The doctor wanted to try and get her on track with the normal well child stuff. And we went in, we had a great appointment. She did all the testing, and the nurse walked out of the room to go get one of the shots that she was supposed to get that day because her immune system was so compromised due to all the medications and everything she was going through that it was really the best choice for us at that time. And as the nurse walked out of the room, she came back about 3 minutes later. And in those 3 minutes, Katrina went from being a bubbly, bright, wide awake 2-year-old to turning blue and having another horrible attack, which led us out of the pediatrician's office in another ambulance. That was kind of the way things went. I didn't know where this was going to go, and I didn't know what all I was dealing with. So I started doing a lot of research. Katrina had asthma. And for a lot of people, that is kind of something that we know that it means that it's hard to breathe, but we don't necessarily know what it is. Now, some of these things that we're going to talk about here are specific more to asthma, but most of them are really good explanations of how the respiratory system is going to work all together. If you see this slide here on the left-hand side, you see what a normal lung and airway looks like. You can see that it's that nice tube. You can see the muscles there that kind of keep it nice and open. Blood flows around it easily. But on the right, you see what an inflamed lung and airway looks like. Now that is demonstrating the three main things that happen when your airways get distressed. First of all, they often create excess mucus. Secondly, they get inflamed, so they get puffy and swollen. And thirdly, the muscles around it start to constrict. So those three things are what typically is what we're looking at or what we're dealing with when we're dealing with restricted airways or respiratory distress. So I started understanding what that was, understanding there's three different ways that things could be kind of triggered or what I was looking at. And at the same time, I was dealing with a 1 to 3-year-old that couldn't really tell me what it is that was going on with her. So I had to try and guess and try to figure out what was happening. But knowledge is power. And so the more that I learned, the more that I studied, the more that I studied my own child, the more I was able to kind of help and figure out some different things. One of the things that I did was accidentally changed our entire diet. It was in May. I'll never forget. End of May. I was playing around on Facebook and frustrated actually with hospital food and how I couldn't understand that they were feeding us this horrible processed food in a place that we're trying to get well. And at that time, I was wondering what it is that would happen to our bodies if we were able to go a month without processed food. So I put that on Facebook, just joking around with my friends, like, what do you think would happen? Is it possible to even do this? And my friends very quickly responded with, well, I don't know, Staci, why don't you find out? And for those of you that know me, you know that as soon as I get a challenge, it's game on. So I was all for this. I went full into it, said, okay, fine. For 30 days, we are going to go without anything processed. This means that we're not going to have anything that is not made at home. I made a few exceptions. I didn't have a grain mill, so I allowed myself to buy 100% whole wheat organic flour. I didn't have a cow, so I allowed myself to buy raw milk. But beyond that, for the most part, I learned to make pasta, tortillas, granola bars. I made my own chicken broth and yogurt. I mean, if we wanted it, I made it from scratch with the cleanest, purest ingredients I could get my hands on. And for 30 days, I noticed that Katrina did not have a respiratory flare-up. It was the first time since they started that I noticed that she didn't have anything going on with her lungs. And because of that, we were able to catch a little bit of a break. By the time that was over, I went to a barbecue. It was a 4th of July barbecue. And there was all the good stuff. There was the hot dogs and the chips and the brownies and you name it. It was delicious. And because my 30 days was up, I said, sure, we're going to indulge and we're going to have fun. And I let Katrina eat what she wanted. I had what I wanted. And that night, for the first time in 30 days, she started wheezing again. And I knew I was onto something. What started out as a Facebook challenge became life-changing for our family. Once I realized that diet played a huge, huge part in her particular respiratory issues, I knew that I was going to be able to have some relief, and I was able to make some changes to get my daughter back. One of the things that we did was read a book called Fed Up with Asthma by Sue Dengate. It is a phenomenal book that I recommend everybody take a look at if you have respiratory issues. It really dives into the idea of what it is that's in our food. What are the additives? What are the preservatives? What are the food dyes that affect your respiratory system? And she goes through a lot of the science of it. She gives some background about different cultures and how they found food to affect them. But then she also takes a section of the book and she talks about each specific additive or preservative, what the effect is, how high of a effect it can have on each individual person. And from there, we get to realize what it is that we want to avoid and what we don't want to avoid. Katrina and I, now 10 years later, still eat very much the same way. We typically avoid all additives, all preservatives, and food dye. And because of that, Katrina was able to have a lot of different options. Changing our diet was just one huge crucial part in her story, but that part allowed us to make some big changes in our family. We were able to break away from the Western medicine doctors that we had been seeing, and that had been so great for us. But we were also able to start working with a naturopath and slowly working with a doctor, transition off of some of the harsh chemical treatments that she had been given to things that were more natural, more homeopathic. It was still a very rigorous routine. It still meant that we had to do this drop or that ointment or this rub multiple times a day, and it was exhausting. But I was so grateful that the cycle had stopped. Changing the diet really stopped that chronic cycle that she was in. It allowed her to be more in control of what was going on. She still had asthma. She probably always will. She's one of those kids that will likely never outgrow it. But what it has done is allow her to find ways to be in control of her own body and find ways for her to make decisions that are going to support her in the long term. Now, part of what we did working with the naturopath was reset everything with her system. And it was during that time where I met a couple ladies, Rosie Bremer and Gail Wheeler, at a Christmas craft bazaar. And this was probably when Katrina was about 4 or 4.5. So about a year after the really bad hospital stays were over is when I came across them. And I met them at a craft booth and they had doTERRA. And I had heard about doTERRA from a high school friend who introduced it to me at a time where I was not open to hearing about it and really was very negative about what she was offering. And when I met Rosie and Gail, I played so dumb. I acted like I had never heard of oils before, that I didn't know anything about doTERRA, and I was playing the devil's advocate in the worst way. I was so skeptical, and worse than that, I was so afraid to hope that there was something different for my child. I was afraid to get my hopes up and be disappointed. I didn't want to fall into a trap of some MLM scheme and realize that it was really not doing what I thought it would do. But through talking to them, light bulbs were going off, doors were opening, and I knew that there was something to these essential oils. The first thing that I knew was when Katrina first started talking to Rosie, we were, sorry, I'm trying to close this here. We were talking to Rosie, and right away, Rosie could tell that she was coughing. Like, she was not as drastic as she had been in the past, but she was still reactive. She was still coughing quite a lot. And we went up and we were talking to Rosie, and Rosie put a drop of breathe oil in the palm of her hand, just one drop, rubbed her hands together, and was just waving them gently in front of Katrina as we talked. And as she was waving her hands, as we were talking, I started wondering what it was that was going on, because for the first time in years, Katrina quit coughing. And not just quit coughing for a couple of minutes, but she quit coughing for like a couple of hours. Rosie gave me a little sample bottle of the breathe oil to take home. And then we had also talked about using heliochrysum. At the time, we were using something called a Zyto scanner, which many of us have heard of. But it was and is a device that used to be used to kind of help read, partner oils with your electromagnetic current, blah, 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 and kind of get an idea of which oils your body was craving. And when Katrina did that, heliochrysum came up. And like I said, I was playing dumb. I was playing like I didn't know a thing about oils or anything else. And I had told Rosie that I didn't know why she was coughing, that it was probably just some kind of a cold or something like that. But what we found instead was that that she needed heliochrysum. And Rosie was like, well, I don't know. Heliochrysum is kind of a powerful oil. It's, one of these oils that is great for traumatic situations. It's really supportive when someone has some scar tissue or has gone through some extra trauma or hardship. And it just didn't make sense for this young child to have such a high need for it. Of course, in the back of my head, I was like, oh, honey, you have no idea what my child has been through. That makes so much sense. Rosie also gave me, besides the sample, she gave me the Modern Essentials book, one of the resource books that we often use with doTERRA and essential oils, just to get some information. I went home that night. I devoured the book. I read it almost cover to cover. I'm a praying sort of girl, so I spent a lot of time that night talking to God, going, okay, what is this? And my reality at that time was that money was an issue. I didn't know how I was going to afford the oils, let alone do anything else. But I knew that it was something that was going to change Katrina's life, and I knew that I needed to find this out. I literally got up, I went to my kitchen pantry, started flipping through the pantry to find out if I even had enough groceries to be able to live off for a week. Sure enough, I did, because I like to cook. So I had plenty of food. And when I knew that I could make it for a week without the groceries, I knew that I could take the grocery money that I had set aside for the week, and I bought a bottle of heliochrysum, bought a bottle of breathe, and I bought my wholesale membership. From that day forward, life has been so, so very different. Katrina started using the breathe oil. Again, I was on a tight budget, so I did not have a diffuser when we first began. What I did have was a ceiling fan and some cotton balls. So I would put some drops of breathe on a cotton ball and tape it to my ceiling fan. I would put tissues, just Kleenex, put drops of breathe on that, shove it in her pillowcase so she wasn't having that all right, like a tissue under her nose, but that she was breathing it in all night. I learned right away how important diffusing essential oils can be for respiratory support. There's a lot of different ways that we can use essential oils. First of all, most of us know that aromatic, topical, internal, and oral are the 4 different ways. And we can talk about a little bit of those as we go through this evening. But the diffusing was the first aspect that I wanted to really dive into. So it wasn't too long until I got a diffuser. And let me tell you, that has been the biggest support that we have had. I put a diffuser in her bedroom right next to where she was sleeping, and I put breathe oil in it every single night and diffuse that all night long. it wasn't long before I realized that by her getting a 8 to 12 hour breathing treatment, and yes, by that time she was actually sleeping through the night. I always laugh at my friends who are complaining about babies not sleeping at 6 months old. And I'm like, my child didn't sleep through the night till she was 4, but that's okay. We're all different. But I would put the breathe in, and while she was sleeping, she was getting that constant support all night long. And that led to her having more and more hours in the day that she wasn't needing extra support. We could diffuse at night. She would wake up feeling rested because she wasn't struggling with that. She woke up being able to breathe clear. The breathe oil really was the best one at the beginning, and that was what we used for everything. Once I got kind of tired of the way breathe smelled, quite honestly, you know, when you have it all the time, and that's, you know, the smell of your child, I started to look for things to change it up. I found that eucalyptus is an amazing oil for respiratory support. In fact, many people would go to the eucalyptus first, whether that is in your diffuser, or another way that I love to use the oils is to put in a hot bathroom, steamy bathroom, put a drop or two of the essential oil in the bottom of the bathtub before you get into the shower. Or, you know, when Katrina was little, when I would take my shower, I would put the drops of oil in at the bottom of the shower. I'd take my shower, and she would play in the bathroom with the door closed. So she's breathing in all the steam with the essential oils. That's another really great way to get the oils to get deep into the lungs, because you're breathing them in. The other thing that we would do is diffuse frankincense or On Guard. Often for her, if she had respiratory issues going on, she probably was fighting some kind of bug, and having that extra immune support was really, really good for her. One of my favorite diffuser blends to this day is 2 drops each of frankincense, eucalyptus, and cardamom. That just kind of changed up the smell of breathe, but it still gave some really great support on those diffusing things. Another thing that we did is use a lot of the tools and the resources we have. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Let me pull up this chart again. It is a reflex point chart of how to use the oils topically. And when I was using them topically with Katrina, I found that I didn't know where to put them. I don't know if you guys have ever had that. I mean, obviously for us, it was a pretty good no-brainer that I would rub some on her chest. For all of us ladies, it's also important to rub it on your back, because for many of us, once we have our chests develop, it is a lot easier for us to get essential oils to our lungs by putting them on the back than on the chest. It's a little bit closer in proximity. But looking at your feet here on this chart, you can see reflex points for all sorts of different health issues and things that you would want to look at. And I learned that on the top of the foot, right below the toes, is the reflex point for your bronchial tubes and your airways. Also, right in the middle, right in here on the bottom of the foot, is a reflex point for your lungs. And what I noticed is with Katrina, I would give her foot rubs often before bed, usually with breathe oil, sometimes frankincense, sometimes marjoram, depending on the day. And I'd give her these foot rubs. And when her feet were really sore, or she had spots that were tender, it was always a great precursor or thing to pay attention to, because it often meant that there was something that was coming down the line and that her lungs were tired. So I started paying close attention to that and using that as another tool and resource, and knowing what I was looking for there. Now, a couple of the things to think about, and then we're going to go into some really good details on specific oils and why. But for most people who have respiratory issues, the key thing to figure out is, what are your triggers? Everybody triggers differently. Sometimes it's inflammatory triggers like an infection or allergies or things that you're exposed to at work or in the environment. Other times it can be like Katrina, where it's food additives and food preservatives. Some people it's tobacco smoke or stomach issues or acid reflux. Sometimes it's pollution in the air. Sometimes it's, you know, medication that you're on. There's also irritants that can be short term that come around, like exercising or breathing cold air, or sometimes for people it's really hot air, being under emotional stress, having strong fragrances or odors can trigger for some people. So one of the things that we want to talk about, and what I'm going to dive into here for a little while, is the nitty-gritty of what oils we use for what, why, and when, and figure that all out, because really I think that's what most people want to know. First of all, we can go back to the idea of figuring out the 3 different things that often are at the root or the cause behind respiratory issues. Is there extra mucus being produced in your lungs? Are your airways being constricted, those muscles tightening, or is there a lot of inflammation going on? Once you can kind of pinpoint what that's like, or what that feels like, or which one is more prevalent, and sometimes it's all 3, you can kind of look at the oils and figure them out. Now, for those of you that are complete oil nerds like I am, and I know Monica is and Leah is, we love to know the chemistry of the essential oils. We love to know what's going on and what the details are and why the oils are working. If that's something that you're excited about, grab your essential oil resources and continue to come to these classes that Monica and I are doing over the summer, because you're going to learn more and more about that. If that's not your jam, if you could care less about the chemistry of them, then don't worry about it. We're going to just go over some details here and figure out which oils you use and why. So a couple of the favorites that I have, first of all, Breathe. Breathe oil is all over. It's created by doTERRA to be the perfect blend for respiratory support. Everything that I'm going to talk about here with these different oils and why you choose them, doTERRA already figured it out. They already put it together into one blend. So if you have someone who's dealing with respiratory issues, that's the first place I'd go, is to look at the Breathe oil. And the Breathe oil does come in the Breathe Vapor Stick. I love this puppy. This is actually one that comes in my purse with me everywhere because it's quick, it's easy. Just rub it on the chest or on the feet. It does not melt in heat, at least not here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know about Florida heat. That's a whole different breed. I also carry my Breathe drops. These are something that Katrina still to this day absolutely adores and uses them whenever she can, just because she loves the way that they taste. But those are a couple of the support products that I carry with me everywhere. And then beyond that, let's start breaking down the oils. First of all, eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is a great oil for respiratory support because it not only is a great expectorant, it helps to get stuff out. So if you are finding that you have extra mucus in your airways, eucalyptus will help kind of pull that out of your body. Also, we know that cardamom can be used the same way. Cardamom helps to get things out. And some of these have multiple uses. So you'll find that here as I talk that I'm like, wait, she just said. Yeah, I just said that because the essential oils are awesome. And you can use them for many, many different things. Frankincense is one of those ones that is the king of all oils. But for respiratory support, it really makes a difference because it helps to trigger all 3 of those areas. It really helps the muscles that are constricting to relax. It really helps the areas that are kind of, that get that occasional swelling to thin back out so you can get a better breath of air. Frankincense is one that I had Katrina using every single day for, goodness, I don't know, a couple of years. We've kind of gotten a little bit slack about it lately because she's older, she's stronger, she knows what she needs, and she'll grab it if she needs it. But 2 drops under her tongue every day, or I would massage it onto her chest or her back just to really give that targeted support. Another oil that I love to use for respiratory support is lime. Lime oil is a natural degreaser or degunker. As a total side note, if you have sticky, dirty dishes that are greasy, test it out. Put a drop of lime on it. Watch how quickly the grease just kind of pulls itself away from the lime oil. Well, that's what's kind of happening in your lungs. If you're using the lime oil topically, it's going to help to help you get that gunk out. Now, it is a citrus oil, so be sure that if you are someplace sunny, that you don't put it on and then go out in the sun, because you can have some sort of photosensitivity depending on your personal skin and how you react. Citrus oils are always ones to be cautious of for photosensitivity. I also love marjoram. Marjoram is an oil that, my team all knows that when you think of marjoram, you should think of mussels. Now, marjoram has many, many uses beyond just mussels, but it is one of my favorite oils, except for maybe deep blue, for muscle relief. It helps to calm them and relax them. So you can see how that would be really beneficial topically for respiratory support, because again, it's calming and it's soothing. A couple of the other oils along the same line would be Roman chamomile or lavender or petitgrain. These are all oils that are soothing and calming. So those tight constricted airways will start to relax. When those muscles start to relax, you're able to get a better, deeper breath. So that's an important thing to remember. We also know that when it comes to essential oils, peppermint is a natural opener, right? If you ever just put it in your hand and smell it, it opens up your airways. You feel that difference. So peppermint's a great one to diffuse. It's also a great one when we are thinking of respiratory support. Don't just think about the machine of the diffuser, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, my favorite ones, in case you are interested in that. But also remember that one of the easiest and best ways to diffuse oils is to put a drop in your hand and just cup and inhale. That is such a powerful diffuser. And the peppermint oil is one of my favorite ones to do that with because it opens everything up. It helps to clear up, dry up any nasal drippage, and it works similarly in your lungs. So that's a great one. Sandalwood is another one that I use often for just the calming effects of it. It helps to relax those muscles. So that's another great one if you like the smell of sandalwood to massage on topically. Digest Zen is another one that I've used often, especially when the respiratory issue has like a really wet cough. When you can hear the gunk just kind of rolling around, Digest Zen will help break that up so you can have productive coughs and to be able to support your body in eliminating all the gunk that's in there. So those are a couple of my favorites. Again, we can talk about these all night long. There's probably another 30 oils that I pull out for different times with respiratory. But I also wanted to make sure that I don't overwhelm you all with too many oils. But keep this in mind. When you are looking at supporting the respiratory system, one, trust your gut. If you are feeling an intuition to be led to use a certain oil, it probably is going to be an oil that's going to help you. Very, 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 very rarely, if ever, have I found someone who has trusted their gut, used their intuition, gone for an oil, and not had some relief from that oil that they were drawn to. Our bodies instinctively know what it is that it's looking for, even if our brains get in the way of that. So trust your gut. Make sure that you are looking at the different oils, and if you are looking for support to break down gunk or get it out, that's probably a good time to use oils topically. If you are looking to relax muscles and to get that occasional swelling down, that's a great time to use topical. If you are also looking at being able to get deep down support, that's when you look at diffusing. And like I said, we're going to just quickly go over some of the diffusers doTERRA has. We have a couple types of diffuser, and really whatever one you have is going to be great. I have found for our house, I really like the water-based diffusers, like the Lumo, the Aromalight, and the Petal diffuser. I like those for the times where I want to be able to change out the oils quickly because the water will be done between 4 to 8 hours, and I can change it up and do something different if I want to do that. But I also really like the oil, the straight oil diffusers. And I know doTERRA discontinued the Aroma Ace. I believe we still have the Cloud last I looked. I could be wrong on that. But the ones where you take the oil bottle and screw it directly on, those are my favorite diffusers for people who are dealing with ongoing issues that need respiratory support, because you can either make up a blend using some of the oils that we talked about, or just take your bottle of Breathe and put that right on there so that you can have that running continuously in your home or in your office, wherever you are that you're looking for that support, and you're going to have a huge benefit there. One of the things to keep in mind here is that As with all things, we are emotional beings. We are people that are not just separated between physical ailments and emotional ailments. They overlap. And if you have ever done any research or study into the books and the idea of emotions and how that affects your physical health, some of my favorites are feelings, what is it? Feelings Buried Alive Never Die, or something like that. It's by Boyd Truman's mom, Carol. And I also love Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And both of those books talk about the fact that your lungs are the emotional point of grief. So another thing that I think is really important to look at is if you are having respiratory issues, to look at the emotional blends, the emotional support oils that could help you process or deal with grief. Peace and Console are two of my favorite for that, either diffused or used topically can really help support your respiratory system as well. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind there. I will say that, just as a side note, I think it is hugely ironic and absolutely makes sense that Katrina's story is so much about respiratory issues when she was 3 months old when her dad moved out, and we saw him off and on for about 6 months. And then there was no contact. And that is exactly when her respiratory issues really started. So if I were to go off of Louise Hay's book and look at that, I would see that this was a little girl struggling with a lot of grief and a lot of confusion. And that's how her body put it out there. Now, for some, that's a little bit too voodoo, you're not sure about all of that. And I will definitely say that hers was a mix of all sorts of things, but it's a good component to look at and to think out and to process and to just use all of the resources. Again, I'm all about taking all of the tools we have, all of the resources, all of the knowledge that we've been given, and just share that with other people. These solutions and these tools are absolutely what gave me back my daughter. I have another picture here I'd love to share with you, because I think it's so beautiful, of Katrina. This one was just about 1.5 years ago. And to me, this so embodies her journey, her story, and where she is and where she's come from. Here is this beautiful girl in this ocean of just turmoil, and yet right in front of her is the peace and the calm. And she knows that she just has to take that one step off the rock and she's there. This has been an incredible journey for her, and so powerful for me as a mom to witness and to be part of, because I know that this child who, 10 years ago was very sick and in and out of the hospitals and in many ways very hopeless and helpless, is now a strong girl who is so empowered and has so many tools and resources at her disposal that I hardly have to intervene in any way. I can easily look at her, and anytime she starts having any sort of a flare-up or anything is triggering, before I can even mention what oil to do or what to grab, she already knows. She has learned to be so uniquely in tune with her body that she can really decipher when she's having issues, if it's a mucus thing, if it's just tightness in the airways, or if they're just feeling really full and heavy. And then she knows which oils are going to be used for that. And that is a gift that doTERRA has given me, and the peace of mind that I have as a mom that has been so incredibly powerful in our lives, because I could continue to be the mom that always knows what to grab and to pull out different things and constantly provide them to her. But how much more awesome is it that she knows how to do that for herself? She's only 11. I wish at the age of 20 I knew how to do that for myself, but she's only 11. And this is what all of us who are using doTERRA and trusting the lifestyle and getting into all of this have to look forward to. Our kids are empowered. They know how to listen to their bodies. They know what tools to use and how to use them and what's safe. And we don't have to worry that there's going to be some negative effects, because we know that the doTERRA oils have been tested thoroughly. We can trust them. We know that we have a science and research team that is constantly improving on the technology to make sure that we have the purest oils possible. That is so empowering to me, and I just absolutely love it. So much so that I thought it was really funny and wanted to throw this picture in. As you know, and like I said, Katrina's got so many of her health issues were wrapped around diet and the things in her diet. So the last time that she had a flare-up that we needed to go in for some help was a little over a year ago. And we ended up going just to the walk-in urgent care just to test things out and see where she was. And of course, in the check-in process, we have to go through what is she allergic to, what is her history, blah, blah, blah. We told them all of her allergies. We told them she couldn't have these foods. And then within, 10, 15 minutes, the nurse comes back in and says, here, we brought you a bunch of snacks and some drinks, and, we just want to make sure you're comfortable. And Katrina, without me even saying anything, without any prompting, turns the can over, starts looking at the ingredients, and her words to me were so funny because she's like, Mom, I think they're trying to kill me. We should go home. I know better than this. Because every snack they brought in, including this juice that they thought that she should have, had things that are known to many people in the world to create and cause respiratory issues. So this is something that I think is important to know. I don't have to be in charge of her health. I don't have to tell her what she can and can't have anymore. She knows what it is and what she's looking for. And because of all of these tools, we're able to go and live a fun-filled life. This one here was one that I thought was so fantastic because this was we're big Seahawks fans, and this was after they won the Super Bowl. And Katrina and I, because I work with doTERRA and can do this, we were able to take time and go down to the Super Bowl parade. This day, she was having a massive flare-up. It was super, super cold out. We were standing outside for a really long time. She was getting oils probably every 10, 15 minutes, and yet every time I asked if she needed to leave, if we needed to go do something, she said, no, I'm okay. No, I've got it. These things that normally we had not been able to do, she now has the tools and we can have a normal, fun-filled life. So this is us today. Katrina, actually that was probably a month ago when it was beautiful and sunny in Seattle and we're out at the ocean. And one of the things that I want to leave you with is just to know that we all have a story. One of the things that I think we have so much to learn from with our doTERRA stories is that there are people who are struggling. There are people who are hurting. There are people who are losing hope because they don't know what we know. And whether you ever decide to build a business with doTERRA, that's completely up to you. But you have a story that is worth sharing. You wouldn't be coming and learning more about the oils if you didn't. And if you don't have one, you've heard mine. This is something that I am hugely passionate about, and I am so excited to be able to continue to talk and to share and to tell people that there are other alternatives. There are options. There are things that we can do to empower ourselves and to empower our kids to have tools and resources at their ready so that we don't have to be hopeless and dependent on anyone else. We are so grateful that we have modern technology, that we have doctors, that we have options when things are in a crisis or trauma situation and we need those options. But I love that I am able to go home, grab my oils, and be able to be supporting our family wherever we are with whatever we need. So that is my mission. I am here all summer doing these classes, trying to share things. I am so incredibly blessed to have Monica in my life and to be able to partner with her. She is just such a wealth of knowledge and huge support, and our friendship has meant the world to me, and it has been something that has been able to blossom personally and in our businesses. And so I am just so excited that you guys are here and that we have a whole summer planned of great learning education times for you, times to share stories and testimonials, and to just get started. So if there is anybody tonight that does not already have essential oils in your home or does not already have a way to get them, I will be talking about how you can get this in your home. But for those of you that already have oils, that you're already connected, I wanted just to thank you really quickly. And again, thank you so much for taking this time the night before a holiday when we're all super busy to join me to hear my story. If you know people who could benefit from what you're hearing tonight, please let us know. Monica or I or your doTERRA leader that introduced you, whatever it is, let us know, because we're here to support and to help you. And thank you for being here. I will not be offended if you have your oils already and you want to hop off. For those of you that don't have oils yet or you want to know more, I am going to let you know how you can get your hands on some amazing oils. And for everybody else, take a look at our July schedule. We have lots of upcoming classes, and we hope to see you at many of them. Feel free to share those, not just with friends that you know that already have doTERRA, but with all of those people that you are coming to mind and thinking of right now as we're talking, that you know could benefit from learning a little bit more about some natural solutions. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing, and for listening to my heart. I am so grateful for all of you. And for those of you that don't have your account, give me 1 second and I'll let you know how to do that. It's amazing how thirsty you get when you talk to yourself for an hour. So if you do not already have a doTERRA account, there's some really simple and easy things that you can do. First of all, with doTERRA, you can buy retail anytime you want. Simply go to whoever introduced you to the oils, whether that's Monica or I or any number of people on our teams or people that you know of that have doTERRA accounts. You can go to their website and you can order retail through them. If you like to save money, then you probably want to get a wholesale account. And with doTERRA, a wholesale account is $35, and that allows you to get 25% off all of your doTERRA products for an entire year. Whether that's oils or shampoo or skincare or supplements, you name it, you get 25% off of it for a year. After that year is up, it's not an automatic renewal. It's a next time you order renewal. doTERRA will send you an email just saying, hey, your year is up, and if you'd like to continue to have that 25% off benefit and have a wholesale account, it's going to be a $25 renewal fee for the year, but we're going to thank you for doing that with a bottle of peppermint oil for free. So that's an awesome thing that doTERRA offers. But that wholesale account comes in 2 different ways. You can get just a wholesale customer account where you get all the benefits of the price break, but there's no benefit of building a business. So bummer for you, but if that's what you want, it's a perfect program. If you think you might have 1 or 2 people that you could benefit from using the oils, or you want to share the oils with them, or you are interested in creating an abundant lifestyle or having the doTERRA business as part of your future, then you would get the wholesale wellness advocate account. Both of them are the same price, so there's really no difference. It just helps those of us who are working with you to know the best way to support you. So make sure that you're aware of which account you like. And then from there, once you decide to get your wholesale account, you can pay that $35 and order any oils you want or any products you want and kind of put together your own kit. However, if you buy one of the enrollment kits that doTERRA has already put together for us, they range in price from $150 up and have many different levels of oils and products and combinations to suit exactly what your family needs. Those are all available as enrollment kits, and it waives the $35 fee, so you just get to get your products at the discount, and you have that membership to enjoy for a year. We're going to talk a little bit more about that at some of our beginning classes. But tonight, I just want to make sure that everybody knows how to get your hands on oils. And if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to comment in the chat box or to reach out to me personally. I'd be happy to help you or send you back to the person that you're working with. We are all a team together with doTERRA, no matter if you're Team Possible, Essential Wholeness Team, or one of our teams that are part of us. We are here together to work together to learn, to grow, and to share. So reach out, don't be a stranger, and thank you so much for joining tonight. I look forward to talking to you soon.